Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. So today I want to go ahead and discuss this giant thing with you right here. This is the Canon RF 600mm f11. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's going to be kind of a short review. I'm just going to give you a lot of technical data and then there's just a lot of hands-on experience. So let's go ahead and start with the price. So this bad boy right here is $699. For what you get for $699.99 plus shipping. Depending on where you get it, you might actually get free shipping, but pretty spectacular. So the lens by itself is 2 pounds, 0.7 ounces. Now, if you are mating this to a camera, depending on your system, it all depends. So if I attach this to my Canon EOS RP with the Velo battery grip, the one that I did a review on up here, whatever side, I don't remember. Anyways, so it is 3 pounds, 9.6 ounces. That is with the lens, obviously no lens caps. Lens with the battery grip, 2 batteries inside of it. Now, if you're just going for a single run and gun battery style setup like you normally would with the camera by itself, standard, straight out of a box, and you attach to this, it would be 3 pounds, 2.1 ounces as your setup. So still kind of hefty, not back-breaking, but it is a pretty heavy piece of glass. So if you do plan on walking around, maybe perhaps going out onto a birding trail, or if you are maybe doing something as far as, now I did a little street photography with this, it kind of isn't really all that great unless you're just sitting at one side of the street trying to snap photos of people walking. So there's that. So this way, if you are kind of self-conscious about doing street photography and you want to take pictures of people, this is probably going to be your best bet. But a fantastic nature photography lens. Now collapsed, it is 7 7/8 inch, pretty much 7 7/8 inch. I think it was maybe just a hair under that. But without the lens caps. So when it's collapsed like this and it's mated to a camera right here to right here, it is 7 7/8. Fully extended on a camera, it is 10.5 inches long. So a long time ago, I was looking into going to shoot photos at the 24 Hours of Le Mans down in Sebring or Daytona, I forget which one it was, but anyways, they had a stipulation where you couldn't bring a lens over 12 inches, so this falls just underneath that category, so you probably could get away with that. I don't know about the 800 RF11, but the 600 you should be pretty good to go. Now obviously this does have autofocus, it has image stabilization, it also has another button on the side here, one for full and one for 12 meters to infinity. Honestly, I looked in the manual that came with the lens. I also went on to Canon's website. They don't really specify what this is. Basically, I just keep it on 12 meters to infinity. The close focusing distance on this lens is 14.76 feet, and that is pretty accurate. Basically, which I'm just going to say 15 feet, because if you're any closer than 14.76, you're going to know it, and you're going to have to step back a little bit. This does have image stabilization and has up to 5 stops of shake correction. Hand holding this and shooting video with it, honestly, when you switch on the image stabilization, you can really tell. The image stabilization works really well on this, especially if you are trying to hand hold it and shoot something, specifically wildlife. Let's say if you're trying to focus on a bird in a tree or on a branch or on a limb. When you have the image stabilization on, it makes this lens so much easier to focus. Now, as far as autofocusing goes, now this is just for my Canon EOS RP. I will say that I don't really like the autofocus with the EOS RP, mostly because the EOS RP, I still it's good at autofocusing. It's not the greatest. If you do single point or center autofocus points, it's a little bit easier. So this way, if you're just basically centering everything into the middle, so if you are framing it that way, it's going to probably be the easiest. If you're trying to actually frame anything besides center point with autofocus, it's going to kind of give you a little bit of trouble, at least for the EOS RP. That's what I found. So I just manually focus this thing. It does have full-time manual focus, which is pretty decent, especially if you're on autofocus and you don't feel that you are fully focused. I mean, you can just kind of back it up a hair or forward, however you need it to. And so you'll get the best out of this lens if you use it like that. I really haven't had any issues with manual focusing. I will say, as far as manual focusing this lens, it is a little bit touchy. It is super sensitive while focusing, so basically when you're at the point of focusing, you really only just kind of need to twist it just a little bit and you're right there, because the focal range on this is 600 millimeters. So basically once you get to that point, anything before or after that is just going to kind of blaze past it and focus. It does have a control ring on this, which is also nice. It does have the clicks in this. You apparently can send this into Canon, and Canon will get rid of the clicks for you. So if you don't want that on the lens, you can have them take that off for a price. Couldn't tell you what the price is. It doesn't bother me, but I guess if you're using this for video work and you're using the audio that's coming from the camera, you probably want to get that done. But if you're just going to be like dubbing over it with a voiceover, let's say you're doing like a nature documentary, if you're going to be just dubbing over it with voiceovers and stuff, probably isn't really going to matter. I don't think that you're going to notice the clicks in the video, but that could also be a very good possibility too. So might be another reason why you probably want to get that removed. Now, let me give you all of my hands-on. So I've had this lens for probably going on 2 or so months now. I think I purchased this at the very beginning of August, and so we're at basically the end of September right now. This is the 23rd of 2021 in September. This is a fantastic lens. Now, I know most everybody's going to say, well, I don't want an f11 lens, which I agree. I was thinking the same thing too. So I was thinking, f11, there's really, there's not going to be a whole lot of bokeh. You're really not going to get like the shallow depth of field you want. And honestly, I was very surprised with how much compression and how much background blur you actually do get from this. Now, that also depends too. So I would think that if you're trying to shoot portraits with this, which I think would be a little absurd, you're probably going to have to be back very far to get your subject all the way in frame, especially if you're trying to frame them, from head to toe. With a 600 millimeter lens, you're probably going to have to be somewhere in, I would say, at least 50 yards to 100 yards. If not, maybe a little closer, but I can guarantee you that this lens right here is solid for taking pictures of the moon. I did my first, well, not my first, but the first one with this lens, HDR moon, and it came out spectacular. You got amazing detail on the craters, amazing details from the moon itself. This lens is insane. And as far as nature photography goes, so it sometimes does leave me wanting a little bit more reach. Now with the EOS RP, I can crop it in with a 1.6 times crop in the camera itself, so I don't really necessarily need like an extender or anything, so it goes from 600 to 960 millimeters. But with that being said, if you did want to get more reach out of this lens, you can mate this to an RF extension. They do have the 1.4 and the 2 times extensions that will turn this into an f22 basically. But if you're just using this primarily for wildlife photography, I honestly don't really think that you're going to have a huge issue. Because if you're trying to focus on something small like a bird or a rabbit or a squirrel, a small animal, even at an f22 with that much background compression at that long of a telephoto range, I think you're gonna be okay. I think you'll still get the results you want. clearly you're going to have to bump up your ISO on that, but honestly, I mean, you know, you're kind of taking one thing for another. If you are really concerned about the range on the telephoto lenses, so they do have the 800 millimeter RF. I was contemplating getting the 800 just because I wanted the extra reach, but I wound up going with the 600 just because, number one, it was a couple $100 cheaper, so $699 for this, so $700 or $900. I mean, if you didn't want to drop an extra $200 on an extremely long telephoto lens, I think that this one will do you just perfectly fine. I took this out to Bayport Pier out in Hernando Beach, the Spring Hill Weeki Wachee area, and I basically just sat at the pier at a little park bench taking photos of birds, seagulls, boats coming in and out of the channel. It does amazing things. It gets some amazing results. I mean, even just shooting birds in the backyard or just messing around with it. Very hard to shoot cars with this, especially like because I do a lot of, I can't say I do a lot of, but I have done some drift photography in the past. I have a Tamron 70 to 200 back here, which I have used. Fantastic lens too, by the way. You have to get pretty far away to get a car like in frame that isn't just like straight all the way across. And basically what I mean by that is if you're trying to take a picture of a car, you have to be pretty far away because cars are pretty big. So just take that with a grain of salt. This is an extremely sharp lens at f11. It has an 82 millimeter thread on it, if you were wondering. So you're going to be buying some pretty expensive ND filters or polarizing filters. There isn't much chromatic aberration on this lens, and honestly, for the price that you pay for this, I would expect there not to be very much at all. I know that's kind of hard to say. It doesn't come with a lens hood, so you do have to purchase that separately. I believe there is also a mounting option, so if you want a tripod collar type of deal where the bottom of this kind of like swoops out. I do believe that Canon sell those as well. I think I went on their website, but I couldn't find one, but I'm pretty sure I think that they might have one for that. You do have to lock it and unlock it to get it to work, because it will not work on your camera. Your camera will basically tell you to extend the lens and lock it into place before you use it. And that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously, if you're shooting in a lower light situation, you're going to have to bump up your ISO. So pretty much if you're not using this during the daytime, be expecting an 800 plus ISO for any of the R systems, which the EOS RP is still pretty decent, up to like, I would say at least 10,000 ISO with minimal noise. Not saying that there won't be any, but you will have to, you know, kind of do some noise reduction in that. But if you can keep it below 10,000, I think you should be good. This is a fantastic lens for anybody that likes to do just, you know, some crazy off the wall stuff. If you do nature photography, if you do astrophotography, if you love taking pictures of the moon, if you want to just get some very weird, interesting results like street photography, like you can get some pretty interesting results with this. You got to be pretty far away to get like framing correctly, but you get some pretty wild results with this. It's kind of weird to use this long of a lens for street photography, but just, you know, whatever. It's a pretty niche lens, but honestly, I would say for the price, if you can't afford to buy an f2 600 millimeter from Canon for $8,000 or $10,000, I really truly believe that this is a pretty decent option. Like I said, you can add an extension on this and you can get it to 1200, 1300 millimeters, no problem. So yeah, I mean, is this worth $700? In my honest opinion, absolutely 100% yes. Oh yeah, I do have this control ring set up for ISO, so this way if I need to bump my ISO up or something, I can just go ahead and clickety clack. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like. If you didn't like this video, also give it a thumbs up. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons. I'm Jordan, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.